right. Jamie, thank you for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Scott. Thanks for the opportunity. Looking forward to this.
Absolutely. So there's a lot to go over. You have an incredible story. Love your story. A lot of success in this story. So I think we'll kind of give the audience a little bit of a preface, just kind of go with how you kind of started and kind of how you got to where you are today. We'll kind of go off that.
Sounds like a plan. Awesome. So I was born or
Maybe we could probably fast forward from the born part.
Okay, no problem. Well, I was in real estate basically 30 odd years. Loved what I did, top agent, then built out a real estate team. Then I hit one of those moments in life where I felt there had to be more. So I stepped into leadership. We opened up a few different offices and then built out the #1 office in Canada. And everything was great. I was happy until I always say I lost the loving feeling. I wasn't fulfilled. And in my life in the past, whenever I'm not fulfilled, then I have to follow that feeling. And then I knew I loved to coach. I was coaching real estate agents. I was coaching some people outside of real estate at that point, and made the decision to walk away from my career and sold shares in our company and followed my dream. And my dream was to start coaching, and my business partner, myself, who's my daughter, we co-founded and launched the Be to Have movement, which is a mindset business coaching company.
And I love the name of the company because it's something, I mean, I can literally show my phone and it's something that I have on my phone is Be Do Have. It is kind of my lock screen. And it's like unbelievable that like this, we just happened to meet. I mean, we just happened to kind of connect. And so I love that that's the name of it. And I really think there's a lot there to kind of dissect and go into. But before that, you mentioned that, you weren't fulfilled. I guess I think a lot of people have this issue. They have goals, right? They want to do something. They're trying to improve their life, and they're missing this feeling of that fulfillment, that joy, what. So I guess how did you know? What was there any what was the indication that you weren't fulfilled, and that's how you made the change? Like, what was that feeling like?
I've been very blessed. I've done my entire life everything I've wanted to do. So I've been very connected to making sure that I'm happy and I love what I'm doing. And I've never felt like I've had to work. I worked my butt off no matter what I did. It didn't feel like work because I was passionate about it. So when I say I lost that loving feeling, it was probably over about a 2-month period. I just wasn't feeling inspired anymore. And I felt was becoming a job. And I don't ever do anything as a job. I think for me, it's just so much more important and so much more value for me to make sure I'm connected to what I'm doing from a deep rooted passion level. So I just wasn't feeling it. And I think most people, we think about things consciously in our mind, and then we have that feeling, that intuition. And I've learned to follow my intuition. And when you get the feeling, so, if anyone's listening and they're having a sense that, they're just not happy and there's got to be more, that's the feeling. And then it's having the faith and courage and confidence in yourself to follow that. And it's scary. Oh, it's scary. I walked away from everything and, I had confidence in myself, but at the same time, here we are launching a brand new company. COVID hit not there shortly thereafter, which really threw us. But the reality is I knew in my heart, in my gut, that this was right for me. And I think that's the message. When you feel it and you know it and it's intuitive and you're connected to that, you just know what's the next step. And I just followed that feeling.
That's so interesting. I love that because I think a lot of the times, and obviously yours is a monumental job. You were the top sales team real estate in Canada or in your area. It's just like, how do you, like most people, it's like, we have our jobs, right? You have your salary, you have your benefits. It's just like, what was that conversation like with your family? Or like, how do you have that conversation? Hey, by the way, yeah, we're making $1 million a year, and we're also going to lose all our benefits, and we're going to start from scratch. What's that conversation like? How do you even do that?
First, it's in my head.
Yeah,
I think
how do I say
that's the first conversation. I want to do it. Are you crazy? This is nuts. Like, everything's great. 6-figure income, great bonuses, partner in 4 different real estate companies, and part of a real estate team, having residual income coming from all that, and then just understanding me, knowing that I can't do this if I'm not happy. So I became clear, and it was a 2-month process before I even mentioned it to my wife.
Wow.
And I had to get clear this was something that I wanted to do. And then being very blessed, and my wife and I have been together a very long time, she supported me 100%. And all she said was, "Are we going to be okay?" And I said, "Absolutely." And she said, "Then do it."
Oh my
And
gosh.
so important to have that
Support.
inner circle around you that supports you in your dreams and goals. And, over the years, not everything worked out. So for her to do that when she did, huge trust and faith in myself. And I think that's so important to have that inner circle, because if she wouldn't have done that, it might have been a little bit different story. Maybe I would have held off and waited. But I know at some point in time, Scott, I just would have done it. I can't be in a position where I'm doing something that's not fulfilling and I'm not happy, because at the end of the day, for me, that's what it is. And time is of the essence. I've learned in life, like, we have today, we can't put off tomorrow what we can actually do today, because life happens, right? You just
It's
don't know
not
what's coming down the path.
it's not guaranteed for sure.
Nope.
What would you say to someone who, they might have this itch, right? They got the itch. It's like, okay, like I want to do this, but like they won't. Like, is there a piece of advice that you can give someone who kind of has that itch? They kind of have that inkling of like, is this really what I want to do? Or they have like, oh, I want to do that. I want to open my own store. I want to whatever, right?
Yeah,
Is there any sort of like tangible or specific advice that you would give someone like do, X, and that might help them along the way?
absolutely. We call it a mindset dump. So
Mindset
just
dump.
take a sheet of paper and just literally start to write out everything that's in your mind. Dump everything onto the sheet of paper without any thought process behind it. So we don't have to evaluate it. We don't have to judge it. We don't have to question it. We just want to get it out of our head onto a sheet of paper. So if you're thinking about something, if there's something there, and I love what you said, that itch, it's like a fire, right? When you're starting a campfire, flame is very small in the beginning, and usually you have to light it. There's a little bit of smoke, and then you have to fan it. And then eventually when that flame kicks in, then we can add wood to it and it'll continue to grow and burn. And our ideas are no different than that. So start to just get it on a sheet of paper and look at it and evaluate it and question it, and then just get emotionally attached to it. Like, why would I want to do that? What's important about this for me? And as you ask yourself these questions, you'll start to notice that you have the answers. And that's one thing we always advise our clients, that we all know what we should be doing. We really do. We
I
all
love
deep
that.
down know. And our goal as coaches is to help our clients see that they have it within. I want them to know the power comes from within. We never want to give that power to anybody else. So we take that and own it, and then just start to build and lead ourselves down our path, because I see everybody as leaders. We're all leading our life, right? We're trying to, this imposter syndrome is I'm always so curious about this. And here, in my opinion, the deal is we're all imposters. We're
Hmm.
all trying to figure out the process in our life. So nobody has it figured out, but we get caught in the matrix and Instagram and Facebook, and we think everybody's got it all figured out. I think we're figuring it out as we go. So that's the fun. The how just shows up, but just start. So take these ideas and write them down. Just write them down, get them out there. And don't talk to too many people about it, because maybe your inner circle isn't supportive, or maybe they won't support your dreams and they'll tell you all the reasons why it's not possible. And those reasons are also the reasons why it's possible. Because once we do the mindset dump, then we can do a mindset reset. So we can take all these ideas and then actually start to reset our own thinking around what's possible and what's not.
When you say don't, and I've talked about this too, like, you don't want to share the ideas that you have with people who made big ideas with small-minded people is kind of the general essence of it. But let's say you have all these friends, right? And let's say your goal is that you want to lose 50 pounds, just to keep it in the fitness realm. That's my expertise generally. And your friend's like, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't like, so how do you, I guess, solve that issue of, okay, I have friends, but they might not necessarily support my specific goal. I guess, do you keep them as friends? Do you get rid of them? Like, how do you, because like you need, I feel like people do need support in some aspect. I guess, if that's even true, I guess, how do you get support then if you can't rely on your friends?
I think we all know, right? Like, we could all look in the mirror and know we probably have 4 to 5 people that are pretty close to us. And we all know 1, maybe 2 that'll support us no matter what. Those are the ones we want to go to. And if you don't have those key supportive people, well, then maybe we go outside of our inner circle and then we go to our network. So in the fitness world, like, who do you know that's in great shape? Who do you know that has a great mindset? Who do you know that would support you? And maybe it's coaches, maybe it's mentors, maybe it's, at the gym. I was at the gym this morning, and, you look around and you just start talking to people, and you notice, like, people that are in good shape, they generally have a great attitude because they're disciplined, they're focused, they're
Yeah.
confident, and they can create your inner circle. So maybe you don't have to walk away from your friends, but maybe your new inner circle is going to be different than your current inner circle.
Love that. Awesome. Love that. So you stepped away. You
Mhm.
made a very, I mean, I think a very courageous decision, an intense decision to walk away from stability, your career, and start your own business. The Be Do Have movement with your business partner, your daughter. I guess so first off, how'd you get, I mean, how did that dynamic work at first?
It wasn't planned, never saw it. It's interesting is I was on this journey, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to transition. I knew I wanted to coach. I could do it remotely 3 days a week. That was going to be my plan. And my daughter, who was in marketing at the time, was in a coaching program that I was offering, and she wasn't happy with what she was doing. So in that process, she ended up getting another job in the same industry and realized that it's not the company, it's just not what she wants. So she started helping me with marketing. And as we're going through this process, we started to do a lot of conversation, had a lot of conversations. And I actually started to see her not as my daughter, as this strong, powerful, independent woman. And in that moment, it was one of those light bulb moments where it was like, here's who's in front of me. If she wasn't my daughter and it was somebody else, I would realize how talented the person is. So it just evolved to the point I just felt, and I talked to my wife about it, and I said, I think I want to do this together with her. And she had actually been thinking about it as well. And so it was the meeting of the minds, and we just made a decision that, okay, let's go build something. So it went from scaling down and semi-retired to, let's just go build a worldwide movement.
I love that. Oh my gosh. So you have the Be Do Have movement. So what does that mean? What is Be Do Have? Why that specific order, which we're going to go into.
Yeah.
But I guess why call it that? What is it? How does it work?
Taking the goal setting process and what I was taught and turning it upside down. So being in sales, I was very, very competitive, always wanted to succeed. And what I was taught was you set goals, and when you get out there and you do the work, you're going to have this success, and then you're going to achieve the goal, and then you'll be successful. So what we realized was it's upside down. It's the opposite. If I can be successful in my mind first, use your imagination, and just like a kid, start to think what it would be like when you've already achieved the goals you've set, whatever the goals are. So if it's losing weight, if it's making more money, you start to visualize and imagine what would that be like. And then you step into the being state, into the consciousness, and work from the goal, not towards the goal. So we start to live as that confident person that's already achieved the goal. And as you start to do this, I write out my affirmations on a daily basis. I journal every day. What were my lessons? What did I learn? What am I grateful for? Meditate in the morning, work out. So all these things start to basically take over your life, because that's who I'm being as a person that's working with millions of people around the world.
So if I can summarize that, so what you're saying is basically when you think through what you want to be. So if you want to be this real estate mogul, if you want to be this passive income YouTube creator, if you want to have X, Y, or Z, whatever the goal is, you want to be 100 pounds lighter. You need to basically almost visualize yourself and feel what it would be like to be that person, and then what would that person be doing, and then do those things.
Absolutely.
Which would then create kind of this cycle of create congruent action with those specific goals. Once you okay, so if I'm this person would act like X, Y, and Z, and then I have to act like X, Y, and Z. Okay, because a lot of people, I feel like, and maybe you run into this, is they have this like, okay, you have like this vision board, and I'm not a big vision board person. I'm big in positive beliefs, but where I think people lose track is they have this vision board, they have this goal, and that's it. It's like, okay, because I'm so positive, because I tell myself I'm great, or because I look at my goals every day, that's all I have to do. But what you're saying is not only do you have to envision it, you have to like identify what these specific actions you have to take.
You have to feel it. You have to live as if you've already achieved it. And this is like being an actor. We call it the actor's technique. We have to imagine, like, think about an actor, right? They get a script. Doesn't matter who they are. They're an individual like you and me. They get a script. They read that script. They internalize the script. Then they become that person. They become that actor, or that character rather. And then they go on the screen and they're living and pretending they're that person. So if they're, the show's a billionaire, if the lead actor is a billionaire, he's living as if he's that person on screen. So we can do the same thing on the screen of our mind. And I wasn't taught this. I had to learn this. Various coaching over the years, lots of personal growth. And it just became this awareness that that's really what we have to do. And when I started to do that, my actions changed. So I started to do things different. I'm doing things as if I'm already that person. So then my network starts to change. What I start to read starts to change. What I do starts to change. And then I naturally start to, because I do things different, I have to do them different than I've done in the past if I'm living at a different frequency or consciousness. Ultimately, I'm going to have the goal. So in my mind, I've already achieved the goal. Like the goal's done. I have to believe that before I start. And I think that's a challenge a lot of times with vision boards. We put all these pictures up there and we get all excited about it. We don't even believe that we can do it. Right. Right. And when you have that strong belief first, you're going to walk different. You're going to feel different. You're going to talk different. The confidence comes through you. And then with the natural laws of the world, action, reaction, everything starts to transform right in front of your eyes. Like everybody starts to be attracted to you, and that's by law.
So what if, okay, so here's a hypothetical for you. I think this is the most common argument, I think, against, becoming, acting as if you're that person. Okay, so let's say I want to be a millionaire. That's, I feel it. I want to do this, and you have to start acting that way. But if I'm acting that way and I don't actually have that money, how do you, coincide that? If you're someone who wants to be physically fit and that's your B moment, but you're not, and you start trying to run like, I guess the question is, at what point does where do you have to stop that action? Because like, if I'm not a millionaire, I can't be spending all this money on getting these things I don't have and put myself into debt, unless you do. I mean, do you put yourself into debt to do that kind of stuff? So I guess where's that line of action versus thought?
Yep. I think it starts with what's important about being a millionaire. So we have to give a lot of thought to why do we want the goal? What's important about it? How will it affect us emotionally? Because it's the emotions that are going to cause the new actions, the changed actions. So if you're starting out and I've made a lot of money and I went bankrupt many, many years ago and built it all back. Wow. So over that course of the journey, I did part of this, my life lessons have been learning from my mistakes and errors. I wanted to get that money back. I wanted to make it back. So how do I do that? So I'm visualizing, okay, if I had that money back, where would I be reading? What would I be doing? Who'd I be hanging out with? Being in real estate, investing in real estate, joining an investment club. As soon as you're in the world of an investment club, you're going to have different conversations. If you want to open your business, well, what type of business? Who do you know that has a successful business? Who can you model? Who can you mentor, or who would mentor you? You don't even have to know people. Like Google.
Just Google.
Like you could literally watch all kinds of videos and just model somebody. Somebody can be your coach through video, and listen and watch what they're doing. More importantly, listen and feel what they're thinking. Listen to what they're thinking. People tell you, you can feel it. They tell you what you need to do. Quite often we reject the advice. Yeah. Because we don't believe it, because we haven't actually put ourselves in a position that, okay, if that was true, and we start to think, yeah, what would that be? Who would I have to become? There's a lot of introspection in this journey. And I know in the goal setting process, when I was doing this with real estate agents, like we talk about what's the goal, why is it important, and then we just get into action. We just jump. When I'm working with my clients, we spend a ton of time at the front of the whole journey together, getting crystal clear. And it's that crystal clear clarity. Like I want to hear somebody tell me what their goal is, to the point where they're so emotional that you can feel it. If they start crying because they want that goal so bad, done. Now I know they're putting themselves in that state. Tony Robbins always talks about that, right? Changing state.
Yeah, changing your state. And,
And
I love that. Like where you break down the goal. And I had a conversation with someone recently about this, is like your reason why. And then basically breaking down, like almost like a kid would do, why? It's like you have to do the same thing to yourself. Look internally, why do you want this? And make it an emotional attachment, because then you can become who you want to be, versus this arbitrary, I want to be a million, I want to do this, I want to, it's like, well, do you, I mean, yeah, I would want something, but like, it's almost as if, why do you need to do this? Like, what is, it's not like, I don't think wanting and stuff, I think you have to almost need, and then that's how you become that person, by really getting emotionally attached to it.
that burning desire.
Yeah.
Right. Napoleon Hill talks about that in the book, Think and Grow Rich. Like we have to build that it has to be a burning desire. You have to want it so bad as you want oxygen. And I didn't want goals for a long time that bad. I said I wanted things. I didn't want them that bad. And then when you can connect to something that you want, and you know it, everybody knows what it is. I think a lot of times we suppress it. Maybe we've given up on it. Maybe we don't see how it's going to happen. I feel in conversations, everybody knows. So sometimes we have to dig down a few layers to figure it out. And maybe you don't know what you want to do with your whole life, but let's figure out maybe in the next 6 months, what would help you get better than you are today? Let's just get better. And as we get better, it gets bigger.
What would you say is like the most common issue that people that you coach, that you see with people who just like a limiting belief that they have? Like, what's the most common limiting belief they have about themselves, which is the reason they're not achieving their goal?
It's belief. I think it's just, people just don't have a ton of belief in themselves, and they don't.
Is there any
see
reason
it.
why? Is there any reason why they don't believe in themselves?
I don't think they actually examine and look at the successes they've had. Everybody's had successes. Everybody has set a goal in the past and has achieved it. And I think society, what do? We spend so much time on the negative instead of all the wins. Like people can tell me all the reasons why they can't achieve a goal. Like, it's so interesting, right? Everyone can give me a long list of reasons why. And then on the flip side, when it comes to how can you do it, if you don't believe, if there's no belief there, then you have a hard time even expressing that. So I think if we can look in our life, look back in time, look back at any goal you've ever set, from deciding you wanted to get your driver's license and then going through the process and getting your license, that's evidence you're a goal achiever. And if we can build on that process, that I'm a goal achiever, and break through that limiting belief that I can't versus I can, then we can build on the habit. And it's all habit building, right? So what are we focusing on? Where are we spending our energy every day? And we all have limiting beliefs. The reason I'm not where I am intending to be right now is because of my beliefs. So I'm fully aware that I'm the one here that's holding me back. So if I need to recreate that in my mind, I need to think bigger. I need to believe in myself. And that's why it's so important to just constantly spend time and energy on me, surrounding myself with great coaches, surrounding myself reading great books, not watching TV. I watched TV the other day for 15 minutes and I said to my wife, I can't take this. I had to get up because there's nothing empowering and inspiring there.
Do you have and not to give away too many of the amazing secrets, but like, do you have a system? Because I feel like I call it the red light effect, and what you just explained is basically, innately, I feel like, and I'm not sure why, if it's just the U.S. culture or North American culture, just we're always so hard on ourselves. Everyone else, it's great job, you're doing great, but whenever it's us, it's just like, someone praises you, okay, whatever, sure, thanks, bye. You don't absorb it. You don't appreciate it. When something good happens to you, you find a reason why it's not a good situation for you. There's always something you could have done better with yourself. It's the red light effect. So when you're driving to work, whatever it is, they'll say there's 10 red lights and you hit 6 of them. You're telling everyone, I hit every single red light to work. But in reality, you just ignored the green lights, which are your wins in this scenario. And we outweigh, everyone always outweighs the negative to the positive. There's a video on on YouTube somewhere, on Instagram or something, that the professor did a math equation, 9 times 1, 9 times 2, all the way down to 9 times 10. And the last, in the middle there, he got the number wrong. And everyone's like, oh, you got the number wrong. Like, oh, that's
right.
horrible. It's like, yeah, but I did 9 of them correctly. And he's like, so I guess, is there like a reason why we focus on those negatives? Or I guess, is there a way to change those limiting beliefs, right? So like, I know like you might have a method. Is there a method to change those limiting beliefs so that we can be more positive about ourselves?
Yeah, I think culturally we get all this is impressed upon us, right? Culturally, school, environment, like it's just the
You can't be
news, like I
wrong.
mentioned, right? So that's there and it's always there. So it's years of programming.
Mhm.
So how do we change it? First thing is we have to become aware of it. Like if we're not aware, we can't change anything.
Mm.
I'm back at the gym. It's been a few years because of COVID. My buddy calls me up, my old workout friend. He says, hey, you want to go back? That's all I needed. I haven't missed a session since we've been back 2 months ago.
Congratulations.
And it's just because it's what I want. See, it's my goal. I'm in my mind going right back to where I was. And of course, now I'm eating better. It's all these byproduct decisions that come out of it. So the process, we have a process that we use. It's something that we've created ourselves. We call it the Be Do Have Method, and it's a 6-step process. And the first thing is getting clarity on what do you want. That's the first, getting crystal clear clarity to the point you're emotionally attached to it. It sounds so basic.
It's hard.
It's hard. We're not used to doing it. We weren't taught how to do it. Typically, my friends don't do it. Right. So I've got great friends and I've learned to compartmentalize my friendships. Some my high school buddies, we're buddies, and that'll always be there. They're not in with me on my journey and what I'm doing, and that's okay. So I love them, and now we've created more friends. That's what we do, right? We just want to circle the wagon, circle our world with people that support us.
What would you say, or how would you help someone, especially in the epidemic that we have right now in the country of obesity and overweight, and people just fad diets, you just cannot achieve your 50-pound weight loss goal, whatever it might be. And the excuse is, they're into it for 2 weeks. They're all into it. They wrote down the reasons why. They're relatively emotionally invested. I mean, they feel it. They go to the gym, but then something happens, right? That a little spark, something just kind of ignites, and it creates this cascading effect of, oh, well, I guess I'll skip the gym today, and then I won't go. And then, oh, I could have that piece of cake. Oh, I could, and the rationalizations start coming through. How do you counteract that? Because maybe they wrote down the whole list, right? They have a whole 100-page list of the reasons why they want to do it. You feel like they're invested, but yet they fall off. Is it a case that they're not actually invested, or is there something else at play?
I think we live in an instant gratification world, right? Everyone wants to hit the button, boom, there goes 50 pounds. Like I want to hit the button. I want to go back to the shape I was in 3 years ago.
Where's that button? I need that button.
Let me know if you have it.
Yeah, right.
But we all want that, right? So I think understanding it's a process, and I love accountability and I hate accountability. I'm actually reframing it. So it's trackability, not accountability, because accountability can be pretty hard. Trackability is something that is a lot easier. So as long as I stay on track, and I have support around me, whether I'm going to hold myself accountable, likely not. I find I need support. And I think most people need somebody to say, hey, way to go, man. Don't give up. And realizing that it's a journey. It's not going to be an event that happens one time. It's like the farmer, right? The farmer plants the seed. He doesn't come out 2 days later and say, where's the crop? There's a natural process to things. And we just all want it so fast. So I think it's really important to make sure that not only are you connected, but then you have somebody that's going to help you and support you on your journey. And that's the beautiful part of coaching, right? That's what I'm sure you love with your clients, right? You help them see and get clear on the process and what's it going to be like when you're there.
Oh, 100%. No, I mean, it's just, and I think I have my clients visualize as well, like feel it, like, what is it going to be like? Why do you want this? Like, you have to give me your why. Otherwise this isn't going to work, because what's going to happen is I'm not with you 24/7. You feel great right now, but what happens when you don't feel great? You got to be able to stick to the program. Why do we why do we teach people I guess in your perspective, the wrong way to do this? Most people, I'd imagine it's, do have be, right? If I do this, I'll get this, and then I'll become the person. How come that's what we like are taught?
Let's figure that out together, because that's a great question. Like, why are we taught that? It's something that isn't reality. And I think it's just programming. Like, why wasn't I taught? My parents loved me and they give me everything they could, but they couldn't teach me something that they weren't aware of. And even in school, I think about school, like we never had these conversations in school ever through university. I didn't personally go through this until I started developing myself in my sales job as a real estate salesperson, going through seminars and hearing outside voices that weren't the traditional education system. And why isn't it taught? Oh boy, let's figure out a way to get it taught, because I think now more than ever, the world is more aware. I see it with younger people. Like they're not going to stay in a job for 20 years. Like a year or two, done. If it doesn't meet my needs, I'm out. People are really connected to what's important to them now more than ever. And I think they're going to get it quicker. I see that with Jacqueline, at 31 years old, she's so much further ahead than I was at 31. Just her whole consciousness and her whole being, the way she thinks. Why isn't it taught? Oh man, Scott, I don't know.
Do you think it can work though? Do you think someone who just, puts their nose to the ground and just grinds it out, like there's got to be some people out there who don't actually need to believe they can succeed, but still do.
Yep. Yeah, we call those unconscious competence. So they don't understand, they can't explain what caused their success. They just did things, they wanted the goal. But here's what I do know. They may not be able to explain how they did it. They can give you all the actions, all the things they did, but they can't explain the being part. They had a burning desire to achieve their goal. So when you explore it and examine it, they did live from the being because they had the burning desire and they wanted it so bad, and they grew into it because they wanted it. So they became it before they had it, but they just can't articulate it.
Interesting. So really it's just an articulation issue. It's like, okay, you actually were that person, but you didn't know how to. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, Scott, every goal is achieved this way. Every goal is achieved this way.
Every goal.
We just don't know it. And that's why I always like to help people understand that you are a goal achiever, and all we need is to prove it once, and you have to believe it. And then I bet you in life, there's multiple times where you've achieved goals. But like you said, we'll give you 6 reasons why it didn't work, or 6 red lights become every red light, and we missed the 4. Right? And it's just helping people explore the fact that, okay, you are a goal achiever. And then when we think about going back to it, like when you wanted that goal, when I wanted to drive at 16 years old, there was nothing that was going to stop me from that. I paid for my own driver's license, or my courses. I wanted it so bad. I went to work, I was working 3 jobs to buy the car that I wanted so bad. So I didn't know what I was actually consciously doing, but I was getting so connected, burning desire to the goal. And I'm visualizing, and like you just said, you help your people and clients visualize. When you can visualize it, you're going to feel it. And the minute you can feel it, you're getting connected to it. That's the being part. So from driving a car, getting your real estate license, losing weight, we all go through the exact same process. It is actually be, do, have. We just don't know it. And we think it's the do.
That's so interesting. It's so funny you bring up the driver's license, because when I was I must have been 16 or 17, and we didn't have enough cars at my house. I wanted to drive to school. I didn't want to take the bus. I was an upperclassman. It's like, oh, you don't have a car, huh? Like you can't. So I was like, okay. So I woke up every day, like at least 2 or 3 days a week, an hour or 2 early, to then drive my dad to work. Because he had a car at work he could use because he had a work car. And then I could then drive back, which is a solid 20 minutes each way, to park at school and just to be able to not take the bus. And I literally did that for the entire year, because I didn't want to have to take and that was my goal that year. I was like, I don't want to take the bus. I can't do it. I'm not going to be someone who doesn't have a car. Like I got to fit in, like all the crap you deal with in high school. But that, you're right. And like I went through the ringer to like be able to wake up earlier than everyone else, earlier than the track team, earlier than all the athletes. And one year I actually had to do even earlier because I was on the track team, and so I had to
Oh,
even wake up.
jeez.
So it was, and it's interesting because I became, without even knowing why I was doing it, I became that person who would just wake up early to do this because I wanted to achieve, just having my car in the parking lot, whether the car was good or not. Just I had a car, and that was the idea.
So when you want something bad enough, you're going to do what it takes.
Yeah.
And the doing is going to be different. Like it changes. So what did you do different? My God, you got up earlier.
Oh, it's horrible.
Imagine if everyone would get up a half hour earlier and read something that's going to change their thinking. They would have anything they want in life. Google mindset and just start down that path. And you're going to change your thinking. Invest 30 minutes in your personal growth and development now. Unfortunately, I've come to notice that most people stop formal education or education the minute they stop high school, university, college, whatever it is. Then they actually stop. And unless there's a reason, maybe they want to get their MBA or there's something else afterwards. But most people, the vast majority, will stop educating themselves after formal education. And
who do you recommend?
Well, for me, that's when actually my life education started. That's when my eyes opened up. That's when I actually started to really understand that, okay, there's so much more that I wasn't taught in traditional school and education system. And being in sales, and I think salespeople and business owners, they just naturally immerse themselves around this, and we need that extra support. And so as I started to learn more and develop myself, it became the addiction. So what I learned is the more I learned, the more I grew my mind, the more my business grew. I just have to keep growing my mind.
And the business.
And then I fought through all the limiting beliefs, like why things couldn't happen, and then learned to develop that. Okay, all I have to do is shift my beliefs. If I believe it's possible, you're going to change what you do. If you don't believe it's possible, then you're not definitely going to get the result, but you're not actually going to create new action either.
Who would you recommend if someone's listening to this right now? Is there one or two or three people that you would recommend someone to hit? Like if you hear what we're saying, you're intrigued, you have an itch to kind of, okay, maybe I should listen to some people who talk about mindset. Maybe it isn't as woo woo. Maybe there is some science behind it. Who would you recommend to go to, online besides obviously the Be Do Have movement? Is there anyone out there that's like a good person to kind of start with?
You know what's interesting is I would suggest Google mindset and then just start scrolling down and click one. And that one you've clicked, you're going to notice as you go through that, there's something in that message that resonates with you. So it may not be a individual. You and I could give people lists of people to go to.
Yeah.
But interesting enough, and I see this all the time, is our intuition will guide us even if we don't know it's guiding us. So just Google mindset, Google personal growth, and you're going to find all the people that we've all heard of and known and watched for years in the industry. Just Google personal growth and then just start scrolling, and you're going to be reading the topic headings and you're going to click one. Just click one. See, that's the action. Just click something and just listen to it with new ears. Don't judge it. Don't bring your limiting beliefs to the table. Just sit there and listen to it, and then maybe even listen to it again. And then again, and then you're going to hear something in that messaging. If you don't like the person, the way they talk, accents, too fast, too slow, pick another one and just stay on that path. It's so interesting how we hear and we'll find what we need, and it happens intuitively. So we don't have to overthink it.
Is there and I 100% agree. I think that's a great point. I mean, just literally clicking on the link is such a great action, and most people just don't even do that. It's like if you just do that, you're already going to put yourself ahead of so many other people, and it's just like you said before, like instant gratification is so needed, but like it takes time, and you got to rebuild basically how you think and realize what you're doing to achieve your results. When you're coaching someone or your company, whatever it might be, is there ever a time, I imagine yes, but like it's a matter of, is there someone who's so ingrained in the way they think? I mean, as you get older, right? Like it's almost like, you ever talk to the curmudgeon old grandpa who no matter what you say, he has a set of beliefs. that's it, they're not going to change. If you meet someone who has those sets of beliefs, how do you, if they kind of want to change, how do you kind of get them at least started in the right direction? If they're so like, this doesn't work or this, it's like, how do you get them just to kind of break open that shell a little bit?
I think it's a decision. You have a choice. You know, keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting your same results. If you're happy doing it, and you're probably not, because we're talking about it,
yeah.
right? Don't resist. Like, resistance shows up. It's incredible how fast resistance shows up. People just naturally want to resist you. Our ego kicks in. We want to be right, all that stuff. But the reality is, if you want to make a change, you're going to have to change something. You have to, because you can't achieve a new result with the same thinking that got you to where you are. Keep getting that result, you're going to keep thinking the same way. So if we want a different result, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that could happen? You stay the same?
Failure.
Or you could actually improve your life. And if that is what's important, then I think that becomes the next step. So it's just one step. Some people, I'm a big picture person, so I like to build the vision and let's build it big and then step into it. Sometimes the vision is just a little step. What's the next step that's going to take me out of my comfort zone so that I can start to grow? If somebody just doesn't want to change, Scott, there's nothing. I was in an office that I started in real estate 35 years ago, and there was a person there. They're in their 70s. Ironically, they were in my old office. So this person's in their 70s and then says to me, "Oh my God, what are you doing? I haven't seen you in years." Oh, I said, I'm mindset business coaching. "Oh, I don't believe in that." I said, "Great, have a great day." I literally walked away. And they were like, "Well, no, but wait a minute, like, tell me more." And now they're following me down the hall, but I'm not going to try to convince anybody. If somebody is that sold on themselves and their beliefs, great.
Good for you. Yeah.
Great. That's good. I'm not here to convince you. We have to convince ourselves. But just open-minded, I think it sounds simple, but being open-minded, if we're not open-minded, then how are we ever going to create any new results, new changes in life?
And it's kind of what you said. It's what you said earlier too, about like, don't share with everyone what you want to do because they might not support you. And that creates that negative kind of effect of just, you're going to be down about your, if they don't support me, then like, maybe this isn't a good idea. And then you kind of spiral back into that old kind of chain of habits that you're in. So, I mean, it's you just walked away from the situation.
I literally, and I didn't even think about it. And, and I look back, was it rude? It doesn't matter, because they basically said to me like, "Oh, I don't believe in any of that shit." Right. That's what they said. I said, "Great. Have a good day." It's like, and then to watch them follow me like, no, wait a minute. So we didn't have a conversation after that because it was done.
When you're coaching someone, and I want to be mindful of your time too, because I know we're running out. When you're coaching someone, would you say that what I found when I coach people is the two biggest things that hold someone back, and this comes personally as well, is the fear of failure, is the fear of rejection. I think those are two of like the most, not that like, I think most people have some sort of confidence about themselves that they can achieve something, but I think it's the fear of, if I do this, someone else is going to make fun of me, or I might fail, or I'm going to get rejected from this. So I shouldn't even attempt it. If I don't attempt it, I can't fail. I can't lose. So I should just stay in this comfort bubble. And then because that's the story you keep telling yourself, your body almost traps you there with just the hormone release, which, oh no, you're comfortable. Stay here, stay here, stay here. And so first off, would those be two of the most common things that you see? And then is there any sort of, thing that you can do to kind of break, like to almost unlock that fear, like be like, okay, like this isn't real, you're just making it up?
I would, if somebody said that to me, first thing I would do is say, "Tell me all the things you failed at." And let's just go through that. Like, let's get it out. It's almost like it's this mindset dump process, right? Like, tell me everything that you failed at and just go. And they'll start, and then I'll say, "What else? And what else? And what else?" And you can do this on your own. So it doesn't even need to be a conversation with anyone else. For anybody listening, just write down all the things you failed at. And then after you're exhausted that list, then you flip it over. So we call it the mindset reset. Now tell me all the things you've succeeded at. So you start to see for yourself that You've failed a lot in life. We all have. You only really fail if you quit. Sometimes I started things that didn't work out and I just realized, okay, I need to go in a different direction. So we never fail unless we stop. If you want to grow, there's always going to be failure. Success isn't a straight line. It's very jagged, forward, backwards,
Goes
forward,
all around.
backwards.
Yeah.
It's all over. So I think that's the first understanding, is that we've all failed. So really, what's the worst that can happen? You're going to pick yourself up and start over again. When I went bankrupt and lost everything, it sucked. In hindsight, it was the best thing that happened because it changed my awareness around money. It changed how I had to think. But it was brutal going through it.
I love that. I mean, I agree 100%. I love the idea of the mindset dump of just like, if you were to write out almost like the vision, almost like a vision board of like everything you messed up and everything you did well, and can almost compare it and be like, look at how much you've done. And yet you're only thinking about the negative, like the red light effect. And I think that's amazing. I have two more questions for you.
Sure.
I want to kind of hammer out what would be, I'm trying to phrase it correctly. Well, here, we'll go with this one. So what would be like your top three pieces of advice, or your three main principles that you would have someone kind of like, if they're just getting started, they haven't really gone through all the, the nuances yet. What would be your top, 2 to 3 pieces of advice that you would give someone just starting out in this and kind of learning about mindset?
When you're thinking about mindset, first of all, what is that? Define mindset. Do you have a positive or a negative mindset? We were just sharing this with our clients this week. Our attitude is like a compass. It's going to determine which direction we're going. Are we going in a positive direction? Are we going in a negative direction? So let's figure out, where are you? If you have a positive mindset, we can build on that. If it's a really negative mindset, then we need to dump and then transition over and look at the positive. And then we can build on that. We need to get on the positive side of the equation so that we can then build on it. So I think mindset, first of all, is getting clear on how would you look at your own mindset? Is it positive or negative? Do you see the good in everything? Do you see all the reasons why something won't work? And then the second thing is, once you start to understand how you're thinking, then we start to question our beliefs. I think that's something that's really important. We have to question what we think is possible. And when we can start to really have an open question or an open conversation with ourselves, and I do a lot of this introspection and thinking. Mm-hmm. One of the things I suggest for all our clients is to start to schedule a half an hour a week to think. Literally thinking time. No distractions, just go in a room and think.
And just sit there.
Just sit there and think. And you're going to start to notice all the noise, lots of noise. It's like when I first started meditating, a minute was hell.
Oh my gosh. It was the hardest thing.
Oh, this doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, I started it and I was like, this does not, like, how does anyone sit here for more than 5 minutes? And now I'm up till about 30 without, going crazy.
30 minutes is now you transition, adding 30 minutes to calm our mind down and then 30 minutes to think. So where are we mindset wise, positive or negative? What are our beliefs? And then what are we thinking? I think those would be 3 great action steps to just start. And then Google, like we already talked about, right? Just Google mindset, Google personal growth, and just get into action. And that's going to help you start to live and imagine and being this new person, this new identity that you're creating for yourself. And we're all going through this journey, this whole imposter syndrome. I was talking about that recently as well. We're all imposters. Like, think about it. We're all figuring it out. But we compare ourselves so many times to people that might be a little bit further along the journey. So I think isolating and putting on blinders and not worrying about anyone else, let's just look in the mirror, look at how great we are. And how would you finish this sentence? I am. And finish that statement and write a list of whatever comes to mind. I am. A lot of times it's negative things first. Once we get through the negative, though, then let's get to the positive. So I'm confident, I'm powerful, I'm inspiring. Like, what are you? And what we start to do is we start to build our own self-image, because self-image is going to control our results. We can't outperform it, but we can redefine it. So we can change the way we think. But we have to understand, how are we thinking first?
Man, that's just a lot of powerful stuff there. I mean, it's just you gotta listen to this episode twice. I mean, there's so many golden nuggets there that and I mean I don't even teach half the stuff. I mean, I learned a lot on this as well, and I teach a lot about mindset. And any final thoughts before we wrap it up here that you want to go over?
Intuition. I think if we all just started to get really connected to that inner voice that is inside of us, that gut feeling, and just let that open, let that door open up and start to feel the feeling. Get really connected to what you want in life. We have a philosophy, time is of the essence today. That's what we have. We don't know, that phone call, health changes everything. We have this moment in time. So if you're loving what you're doing, fantastic. How could you do it better? If you're not loving what you're doing, start to think, start to feel, what would you be doing? So get clear on that feeling and just get into action, start moving forward. I think that's the immediate thing. Is that's why we put in the movement after Be Do Have, is we need to get into movement. Because we can't just sit and think. We need to at some point get into movement, and then one thing makes the next thing easier. So one step at a time. And then eventually it's just incredible how more momentum kicks in, and then it just takes you to that next ceiling, and then boom, we do it all over again.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Jamie, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you coming on the show and just giving the wisdom that you have.
My pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, Jamie, I appreciate your time. Where can people find you before we head off here?
Social channels, Facebook, Instagram, at bedohavemovement.com, or our website, or at bedohavemovement, or our website, bedohavemovement.com. And we have some free tools on there, and we have a free assessment as well that I highly recommend. And what it does is it helps you understand who you are, how you tick, what motivates you, and we can create change by understanding where we are. So it gives us a great foundation to start. And then once you receive that, there's a 7-day boot camp that will walk you through going through that report. And it's really about self-awareness. And from there, we can basically change and create all kinds of change in the world.
I love that. And all that information will be in the show notes for everyone to click on and go through. So again, appreciate your time, and we will be in touch.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Cheers.